Supervisor's ready to go. It looks like we're ready to go in Payson as well. And Samantha, are you ready to go technically? All the technical stuff? Okay, great. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's November 19th, 2024. It's just a minute after 10 o'clock. And I've asked Caitlin from the CSA to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Mr. Menlove will have our prayer following.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear, kind, and gracious Heavenly Father, we humbly bow our heads before Thee at the beginning of this Gila County Board of Supervisors meeting. We have gratitude in our hearts for the blessings that Thou hast bestowed upon us. We have much to be thankful for. We are grateful for our country that we live in. We're grateful for the elections that we recently had, and that we as people have an opportunity to express our opinions and have our voices be heard through the election process. We're grateful that the election went smoothly here in Gila County and throughout the state of Arizona. Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the people that live here in Gila County and pray Thy blessings upon them, that each may be blessed according to their individual needs. Those that are lacking in physical resources, emotional strength, or have other needs, we pray in their behalf that they may be blessed. Heavenly Father, we pray for Thy Spirit to attend us here in this supervisors meeting, that the dialogue may be open and free, and that good decisions will be made, and that we can all be blessed because of the things that the Board of Supervisors do this day. For these favors and blessings we ask in the name of Thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Well, good morning, everyone. We have quite a bit to do today, so we're just going to get started. We have item 2, public hearings. 2A is information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 24-11-03 to name the following roads in the Pine area: East Canyonlands Lane, West Moab Lane, South Zion Lane, West Bryce Lane, and West Arches Lane. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm before you to name the roads as requested. Our current ordinance as it's written. This one was interesting. Our current ordinance is written, has us run through a single cycle of constituent contact, and there was minimal response. So the addressing department selected these names. We had one request for Zion, so we decided to go with Utah National Parks as a common theme. I welcome any questions you have.
Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Hey, Supervisor Klein.
I'm good. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And so with that, then I'll open it up to the public hearing portion. Yes, and I understand that we have a couple gentlemen here that would like to speak to this item. It's Barney Etzel and Michael Etzel.
Yes, sir.
Both or one of you, if you would please come up and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Barney Etzel, and we own the property up in Pine, Arizona. And we purchased the property in June of 2021. And basically it's undeveloped land. So we did typically what had it surveyed, had a topographic maps done, did the sewage system design, and had an architect on board, and put a short road into the property. For some reason, I didn't get the information about road naming and any of that stuff. So I'm requesting that this short road that I have is named after my wife. And I'll give you this road is one I
while he's distributing that, it would be the proposed road number 2.
which you have proposed West Moab Lane.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
here you go. I've got, anyway.
So anyway, after we did all that preliminary work, my wife took ill and subsequently passed away in July 1st of 2023. So needless to say, everything that we had done up to that point went on hold. Now that she's gone and everything, it gives me the opportunity to do something in her name. As you can see by the road, it's probably 100, 200-yard piece of just to get us to the property we're going to build on. So I respectfully request that the name be changed to Ellen's Lane.
Ellen,
Yes,
how would you spell that?
Ellen,
E-L-L-E-N.
Lane.
Lane.
Ellen's Lane, plural.
Okay,
And with that, I thank you for your time and
well, thank you. Stay right there for a second. So
Sure.
Tom, I'll ask a question and then I'll let the others do as well. So would this be a conflict with any other names that we have, or would it need to be a west or an east or a, you know?
We would keep the directional as already assigned, but because we have like the Ellenwood Ranch, and Ellen is found throughout other portions of the county, my only concern would be radio traffic regarding the sheriff's office to avoid name confusion for response issues. We don't want to, if we go to Ellen's Lane, I have not checked directly within the Pine, but I know Ellenwood is used elsewhere in the county.
Ellenwood,
Yeah.
okay?
So if I consider radio communications as marginal, would that cause a concern for response?
Okay, so that would be your only concern.
That would be my only concern.
Okay, Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with it. It's just if it's Ellen's Lane or Ellen Lane, so West Ellen Lane, West Ellen's Lane. I think before it would go any further, which would you prefer?
probably West Ellen's Lane,
Ellen's.
plural.
Yeah,
Ellen's.
Okay.
possessive.
That will help for audio, for radio.
Okay,
Pardon me?
That by keeping the plurality, the S in there, that would help on the radio transmission.
Okay, yeah, no, good. And so, anyway, that's the only question I had.
okay, thank you. Supervisor Klein?
I don't have any problem with that. I think they can sort that out real easily. If they can't, I don't really know what to tell them, so. But I don't really see that being a problem.
Okay, then what I'm going to do is call for a motion, and if we all agree, it sounds like we do, to change it to West Ellen's Lane. I'm sorry. Oh, we need to close the public hearing portion?
Yeah. I don't think you do have anything.
Thank you, Chairman. I believe that the resolution is going to need to be redrafted. The resolution for this item states that as we have it, I would bring this back before the board.
Okay, so
That
the
is-
question is, what do we need to do from here?
Probably table it.
I don't know that we need to table it. You could make a recommendation that in your approving, you can make the change, saying with this change, we approve the resolution.
Okay, all right. You concur with that, Joe? Yes, I do. Okay.
West Moab.
West Moab. Okay, just include that in the motion. All right, then we'll close the public hearing portion and call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 24-11-03 to name the following roads in Pine area: East Canyonlands Lane and change West Moab Lane to West Ellens, plural, Lane, South Zion Lane, West Bryce Lane, and West Arches Lane.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Very good. We have a motion and a second to approve the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. You got your wish.
Thank you very much.
All right.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 2B, also a public hearing. Information, discussion, action to consider a liquor license application. Number LL-24-05 submitted by Teresa Morris for the transfer of a Series 009 liquor store license with an interim permit to operate at the Buddy's Gas and Mini Mart in Young, and issue a recommendation to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control whether the license should be granted. Samantha.
Thank you, Chairman. So Teresa Morse submitted an application to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control for the transfer of a Series 9 liquor store license at Buddy's Gas and Mini Mart in Young. So there's an existing liquor license at the location where the DLLC has issued an interim permit for Ms. Morse to operate. The county has an internal review process where various county departments and the county treasurer review the application to ensure there are no issues related to their respective departments. There have been no issues reported by the departments or members of the public. The clerk of the board's office recommends to proceed with a public hearing, and I can take any questions.
Thank you, Samantha. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm good. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, I'm good as well. So with that, I'll call for a motion.
Oh, we good, yeah.
I'm sorry. See, that I just never going to get it. I will close, I will open it up now for the public hearing. Cassandra, no. Anyone here in Globe? Wish to speak? No. And no in Payson?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'll now close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control approve the liquor license application submitted by Teresa Morse for Buddy's Gas and Mini Mart.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to regular agenda items. 3A, information, discussion, action to canvass the election results contained in the official canvass of the general election held on November 5th, 2024 in Gila County, Arizona, and declare the results as being official. And we have Eric Mariscal. Good morning.
Good morning, Supervisor Christensen, Chairman, and Supervisors Humphrey and Klein. You have before you the canvass of the election in front of you there. It's a rather large and unwieldy object, but we'll try and get through a minimal amount of pain and discomfort, I suppose you could say.
Okay.
Starting off, we have, just our basic contents here: precinct listing, voter turnout, our summary reports, and of course our in-depth and in-detail reports for the precinct level voting. Our precinct listings here are pretty much the same throughout the county as always. We did have some difficulties in the Carrizo and San Carlos areas this election. The fire that occurred in the month of July for the San Carlos area, our normal polling place was taken over by disaster relief and so forth, so we had to find another location. And at the last, almost the last minute, we were approved to utilize the Burdette Hall for the election. And it worked out good. They were having the tribal elections right down the same next building. So we got a really good turnout in San Carlos as a result of that. So it actually worked out for the best in the end. Carrizo, we had a small issue there. The main facility that we used there caught on fire a couple of weeks after the primary election. And so that was a little bit of a struggle there, but they were gracious enough to allow us to use one of the outbuildings. And so we were able to utilize that polling location still so that there was a minimal disruption for the voters in that area. And like I said, everything else was pretty much the same. In the future, though, some of our locations, because of this turnout that we had this time, in the future, if we have elections that will stress us to that point, we may need to consider moving some of our polling locations into larger areas so that we can accommodate them a little bit easier with a little bit easier flow of in and out of the buildings and facilities. Other than that, our voter turnout, as I said, we did pretty good this election cycle. We came out second voter turnout in the state of Arizona. Finally got past Maricopa on this one, but we were not able to overtake Yavapai. They're just fanatically voting up there. So, but anyway, we came out with an 80.74 voter turnout in Gila County, And I can tell you, I felt it out in the polling places on election day. It seemed like the minute we opened the doors, they started coming in, and it just kept going and kept going. So we had a really good voter turnout. Even though we had a very long ballot with this election due to the propositions, it was very well received by our voters in Gila County. We explained to them the situations. I had some really good marshals out there doing some good PR out there, letting the public know, the voters know that it was going to be a little bit because there's a lot of data on this ballot, so it took a little bit of time to print. But because we were able to keep it to the one ballot page, it was very manageable for us. We did have some wait times at some locations, but they did not exceed anything that would put us in any serious jeopardy. Our poll workers on some locations, we set up extra tablets so that we could handle an overflow if we had it. We did. We committed everything, all of our equipment out into the field, and we pre-positioned a lot of it in case we had, issues here and there. But our equipment held. It performed very well, and with the additional units that we put in, we were able to tame the lines that we did have forming, which were pretty extensive. At one point, the line at the Elks Lodge over here was quite extensive, but because we had the poll workers who were doing their job, they tamed those lines pretty quickly. And it was kind of like a flux of, people coming in, going to vote before work or at lunchtime, voting, hitting the polling locations and so forth. But because of our poll workers and their good work out there, they were able to keep it down to the minimums. And so that was a very good shining point on our poll workers in Gila County and also on the voters in Gila County. They didn't get upset. They were very well, they just took it all in stride. So they did well in that regard. So the big part here, of course, there's no mystery. Everybody already knows pretty much who's won because we posted our results as we update on the elections webpage. So on this first section here, the total ballot summary, this is just the overview of the breakdown of the races in Gila County and how the results came out. And of course, we all know how the results did come out in these elections. County-wide races were very minimal because there were there were just incumbents running. So that was a very easy one on that one. So those are those results in the particular areas, county offices, state, legislative, federal, so forth, and they're all there for your review. And then, of course, the precinct detail report, that's where it gets into down to where the bean counters love to go in there and look over that information and so forth and so on. And then the next section we want to take a look at is just, basically the early ballots, which we had a very large turnout on those. They sent out a little north of 24,000 early ballots. And so we got quite a few of them back. We received 22,467. And so we processed those. It took us a little bit longer this time. This election, there were a lot of those propositions did a real good number on what we call hesitation marks. People would put their pen down and rest it on yes, and they change their mind and go to no, but they left that tiny little mark, which registered as an unclear mark on our machine as we tabulated it. But as I'm sure you're aware of, there has been a lot of talk about that the duplications because of hesitation marks and ballot damage and so forth took longer than normal because of the length of the ballot and so forth. So that's just one of those things that we have to deal with. We brought in more teams, and that was the immediate response to getting these taken care of quickly. But even though we had more teams, we didn't have enough space. That's one of the other things that we're looking at in this particular election is that when we process ballots, they have to be under the scrutiny of live feed streaming video that's also recorded in case somebody has an issue with something. But because of our facility being smaller, we weren't allowed to branch out and go use other places because we had to keep everything in a central location so the cameras could view it. So going forward in the future, I don't know, maybe next time when we do early ballot processing, we might just borrow your guys' facility right here for a couple of weeks because we would have more than ample room. And this is once upon a time in the past where we used to do those particular processes. But so that's that early ballot summary. It was 22,467 we received. We rejected 40, and we had 22,427 for tabulation. And the big one we had on this time was that on these early ballots is there were no signatures, or the signatures did not match. And that's just a function of over time and so forth. But those are our rejections. And of course, we had one for signature of the witness was missing, wrong ballot. And those were individuals that returned like for instance, the one that I saw personally was a primary ballot for the general election. They got it mixed up on the table, I guess, and they sent back just one of the hazards of voting by mail if you kind of don't keep your eyes on that. And then we had 3 that had already voted. It's one of those things where sometimes people, they, think, oh, I got to get out and vote, or I wasn't sure if I voted or not. So we were able to catch those, and so no big issues on those. I'd like to point out something here in this particular process. We got ahead. We didn't get too far behind, and we didn't have too much trouble with the tabulations because of my assistant Alfonso Alvarez. 2 weeks out, we normally tabulate the ballots the Friday before the election. If we had gone with that initial process this time around, we would have been sunk because we would not have been able to tabulate all of those ballots in that short period of time because of the long ballot, all those propositions and the 19-inch ballot, which we never had before. But Alfonso came up with the idea that perhaps we should go ahead and tabulate a little early to see if we were going to be experiencing any difficulties like were being reported by some of the other counties. So, taking his advice, we went ahead and tabulated it, started a week early. And it's a very good thing that he pushed that idea on me because we were able to get the job done with a minimal amount of heartache and heartbreak. I pushed my early boards as hard as I could, but they are a volunteer force. They are citizens. They do have lives other than elections. So they were very amenable to my working them on Saturday and Sunday in some cases to make sure that we get the bulk of this done and out of the way. Okay. So that's on the early ballot rejection summary. The other portion that sometimes is of interest is the provisional ballot summary. We had 376 people cast their provisional ballots that we received. There were 184 rejected and 192 that were verified. The rejections ran the gamut from they were not eligible to vote or they already voted an early ballot. Some of them returned their ballots, unfortunately, empty with just the instructions in them, and that was it. So only 2 of those, fortunately. The bulk of them were not registered. 89 were not registered when they came out. As a rule of thumb, when somebody shows up at our polling locations and we don't find them as not being registered, we just don't kick them out the door. We always recognize that there may be a glitch in the system, so we go ahead and vote them to prevent any hard feelings or just give them the benefit of the doubt that there might be a ghost in the machine. And we had 89 of those that were not registered. And of course, I'm sure you guys all got your emails through your text messaging and so forth, go out and vote, get out and vote and stuff like that, but they neglect to tell them that you need to be registered to vote in order to cast your ballot. So miscommunication on that a little bit. And then of course we had 69 in the wrong county, and that's simply because we share the border with Graham County, we share the border with Navajo in the north, in the White River Canyon Day area. So a lot of times the voters in those areas, instead of going all the way into their respective polling places, which are a significant distance away, they decide to just go ahead and come into Gila County and vote because they figure it's just as good a place as any. But unfortunately, it doesn't work out for them that way in the end. But those are the issues that we did have. Like I said, they're minimal in that regard, so we were able to get that taken care of. And of course, the last section that we have is the official write-in candidate summary. And this is just basically all of the official write-in candidates that were allowed on the ballot that we processed. And they were, once again, very minimal in this regard. We did have a lot of people voting for Daffy Duck, Minnie Mouse, Goofy, and all over the place. And a lot of your write-ins from the people that ran in the last primary election were also a lot of write-ins on that regard, but they were not official. So they were just simply set off to the wayside, and the ones that we have here are those ones that are official. And of course, we had 2 water district elections that allowed for the voters from out of district who are property owners and registered within the state of Arizona to participate. And so that is the final election result on this canvas report. We had the usual issues that we always had in election. We had a couple of poll workers call off at a couple of locations. We had a couple of people that were key critical. An inspector got sick at one location, so we had some difficulties with the closing paperwork, which is to be understandable if we lose someone and bring someone at the last minute like that. But overall, our poll workers held strong. We had minimal amount of issues with our equipment. However, we did have one location where we had an intermittent issue, and thankfully, IT night before drug Tyler out of his bed and got him over there to help us out at one location, so that was a good save there. But the equipment is older now. We purchased it, we acquired it, it was in 2016. All the electronics that we purchase now, and they give us a heads up right off the bat, your 10-year lifespan is going to be pretty much what they're utilizing, or going to be good for. And as we are approaching the end longevity of this equipment, we are starting to experience certain difficulties with it. But we'll just be something we'll look at in 25, possibly we'll bring to you to see what exactly you want to do in regard to maybe upgrading and making sure that our equipment is set and ready for the next election cycle that we come across. Which could be sooner than we think, because the rumor has it that there may be a special election come May for I think it's a proposition in the past for funding for K through 12. They've gotten kind of some alerts recently saying that there may be a May election. So for us, if that's the case, it'll be quick turnaround, reset, and get ready for the May election, if it falls through. Hopefully, just a rumor, but it sounds like a pretty good rumor to me. Other than that, if you have any questions about anything in the report, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Eric. Supervisor Humphrey.
Well, Eric, I have no questions. I just want to inform you that great job because I didn't receive any phone calls. I didn't, in the past, sometimes during election, you get calls over
Oh, yes.
things and I got no phone calls this year. So congratulations to you for a great job. And I want to thank you very much and all of the people that helped you with the election, because I know what a difficulty it is to get people to volunteer and to do things and to try to get help. And so I want to thank all those people very much for taking the time and effort and interest to help us with the elections so that we can do a better job. So thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Klein.
Same with me, Eric. You guys did an awesome job as usual, and I really appreciate it. It's not an easy task, so.
Not to start.
But it sounds like going forward, if we can get you more space and a few things, why,
Oh, yeah,
be good to go again.
minor things,
Yeah,
just minor.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And Eric, I'll express the same feelings. You have one of the hardest jobs, and you do it well, and it's accurate, and we can trust it, and that's the most important thing. So I want to thank you, your staff, and everyone that was involved. Really appreciate it, and thank you so much for the presentation.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Menlove.
could I echo all of your sentiments that you've expressed of appreciation to not only Eric and his team, but to all the volunteers throughout the county. That's significant, and they are appreciated. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you very much. Yes, so thank you with that, and if there's nothing else, then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to declare the results of the general election held on November 5th, 2024 as being official.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Supervisor.
All right, item 3B, information discussion action to approve amendment number 1 to contract number 072123 with Trinity Group Services Incorporated, which extends the term of the contract for an additional year to November 6, 2025, and increases the contract amount by $84,930.60 or a not to exceed amount of $509,930.60. And in Payson, we have Sarah. Good morning. Sarah, do you go by, now, I got to ask you, Sarah, are you Sarah White, Sarah Binney?
I'm both.
You're both. Sarah White Binney.
I spent 21 years of my career in Gila County as Sarah White, and we felt it would be extremely complex to notify every agency I've ever worked with and change my email address.
I just
So that
wanted
might
to,
be a little tough. So
okay,
you'll see Sarah White throughout Gila County. I'll answer to both.
okay. All right, Sarah, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Today we're here to present our food services contract for the Gila County Detention Center. We are asking to extend it for one additional year, which the contract allows for 3 additional one-year term. We're here for just one additional year to take us from November 7th of 2024 to November 6th of 2025. There was a significant increase of $84,930.60 due to the rising costs. The total contract for the year is not to exceed the $509,930.60. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Sarah, just if you're refreshing my memory, this Trinity Group Services, where are they located at?
That is a super good question, Supervisor Klein. I feel like I'm prepared for everything but that. I will tell you that they do service quite a few places throughout the state. One of the reasons that it worked so well with them is they did service DOC out
So that's out by the fairgrounds. I can get that information for you
Uh,
and get it sent back.
No worries, Sarah. I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Under Sheriff Newman. With that, I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve amendment number 1 to contract number 072123 with Trinity Group Services Incorporated as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 3C, information, discussion, action to authorize the preparation and implementation of budgeted and unbudgeted interfund transfers for fiscal year 2025. Good morning, Maren.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Supervisor Klein, Supervisor Humphrey. We're here this morning to ask for the board's authorization to prepare and implement interfund transfers for fiscal year 2025. This is an annual request, and it is required by statute that we get your approval before we do that.
Thank you, Maren. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein?
I'm good.
I'm good. I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I will authorize the preparation and implementation of budgeted and unbudgeted interfund transfers for fiscal year 2025.
Mr. Chair, I will second that.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 3D, information, discussion, action to adopt the fiscal year 2025 full cost allocation plan and CFR, which stands for Code of Federal Regulations, cost allocation plan. Again, Maren.
Yes, good morning again. This agenda item is for our annual adoption of the cost allocation plan, which allows for our grant-funded departments and programs to recover some of their indirect costs by establishing the rate that they can charge for that. After you adopt this, we have to send it on to the cognizant agencies at the state for their approval, and then the grant-funded programs and departments can start recovering those costs.
Thank you, Maren. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Mayor.
I'm good as well. I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt fiscal year 2025 full cost allocation plan and CFR Code of Federal Regulations cost allocation plan.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Maren. Item 3E, information, discussion, action to approve Economic Development Agreement number 103120024 between Gila County and the Southern Gila County Economic Development Corporation in the amount of $5,836 to complete its $50,000 commitment to the Highway 60 Corridor Beautification Project for fiscal year 2025, which the board is determined to be for the benefit of the public. Maren.
This is my last agenda item, I believe. So back in fiscal 2021, we finalized a collaboration with several community agencies to work on the highway beautification for Highway 60 from the edge of Miami all the way to the end of Gila County, or over here in Globe. And over the past couple years, Gila County's commitment has remained, and our non-governmental partners have sought ways to strengthen the project and grow it some more. And one of the best ways we can do that is to hand it off to a nonprofit partner, which is the Southern Gila County Economic Development Corporation. We have Linda Adenetto and Robin Huddleston here from the EDC. They will be taking over the administration of this program, and they will be taking over the contract with Allegiance Builders and Lyle over there. And this amount is the difference between the $44,164 that we've already contracted and paid to Allegiance Builders this fiscal year and the $50,000 that the Gila County Board of Supervisors pledged to the project for this year.
Thank you, Maren. I was wondering what these ladies were here for. Would either one of you or both care to speak to this?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning,
Good
Mr.
morning.
Chair and Supervisors Klein and Humphrey. So we see this as a way for us to continue carrying the torch that Gila County has been carrying for the last few years. This is an exciting project and really has made an impact in reducing blight along the 60 corridor from the beginning of Miami to the end of the Globe City limits. And it's also helped to bring a new company into town and create a new business that's picking up this project and making it go. And it's had the creation of, I believe it's 12 jobs. So there's a lot of good that's come out of this project. And this project really was a community barn raising type of effort. This project had been talked about for many years, and it came up at a community facilitation that was at the Gila County Fairgrounds. And that was between the City of Globe and Gila County with RCAC recharging communities. I can't even believe I can't remember what RCAC was for, Rural Communities Assistance Corporation, and they were just here last week. So this was a project that was identified by over 100 community members, and these members stayed at the table to make it go. And Gila County really stepped up to put that into reality. And so we're very thankful and grateful and hope to continue this project for many more years to come. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
I'd just like to say thank you very much because you sure noticed the difference. I mean, you can see, when they start, by the time they get to the other end, you can see the other end needs to be started on again. So to me, it's money well spent because like I say, if, when they get to one end, the other end is starting to grow again. And so you can imagine what it would look like if they weren't starting over. And so it's made a big difference and me, it is an ADOT road, and so you can be angry at the state for not spending money all you want to, but it doesn't help us with the problem. So by stepping up, and I thank you all for stepping up to kind of take care of our house because the state has not helped us with our house. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Supervisor. Did you want to say a few words too?
I just want to say that, this truly has been one of the best collaborations that I've known of in all the years I've been doing community work. And, it's widely beneficial and just numerous direct and indirect impacts. So just so much appreciation to Gila County for having managed and overseeing the project for the past 2.5 years. And little shout outs to Amy Statton and to James Minlove and to Maren Belling for all the work they did and overseeing it. And we're happy to take it on and continue it and, just see it as a huge foundation for community pride and economic development. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Supervisor Klein.
It's a great project and great partnership, and really glad to see it going as well as it's been and continue. So whatever we can do to help you ladies, holler.
Wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, very good. So with that, I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Economic Development Agreement Number 10312024 with the Southern Gila County Economic Development Corporation as presented, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maren. And on to item 3F, information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 1 to an intergovernmental agreement contract number CTR 068202 with the Arizona Department of Health Services to revise the price sheet and allow the Public Health and Community Services Department to continue to provide an HIV care and services for Gila County through March 31st, 2028. Good morning, Joshua.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. So this grant covers 2 full-time staff whose primary job is to take all new clients or residents of Gila County who have tested positive for HIV. We meet with them, they do counseling, and then they kind of give them linkages to care and make sure that they're kind of meeting with and matching those care plans, as well as all the previous residents that they've done prior to those new ones. So they try to keep 90% of the clients in Gila County up to date on their care plans, and they do this across all of Gila County. anywhere from 15, 30, 40 people, clients per year. So it's a good fund, fully staffs 2 people, and they do a lot of care services. They can pay for helping these people. If they can't get to their appointments, we can pay to help them get to their appointments. We connect them to different care plans, so it's a pretty good grant.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions other than Josh, thank you for all you do. You keep a lot of programs that you juggle, and thank you very much for that.
Supervisor Klein.
Josh, same with me. Thanks for what you guys do over there. But I do have a question. It says to revise the price sheet. So we need more money out of this? Is that what it is, or?
It's just amending it. Every year it changes a little bit, but we actually it's a pretty good funding pot. I mean, it covers everything that we need to do, covers the indirect to the county. They typically will raise it with the price, with what we need each year. So, no, actually, we're funded pretty well in this area.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
Yes, thank you. And with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve amendment number 1 to the Arizona Department of Health Services intergovernmental agreement contract number CTR 068202 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
A motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Josh. We have one more for you. 3G, information discussion action to authorize the advertisement of request for proposals number 091424, consulting services, opioid abatement, wraparound services to secure qualified organizations to support and supplement the opioid abatement work already accomplished by Gila County.
So, in December of last year, we did a RFP to bring somebody in for opioid abatement services. At that time, we are really, the amount of different opioid abatement settlements that have come through continues to grow. So the amount of funding and the different opportunities that are available because of the amount of funding has really changed since then. Originally, we were really looking at what public health always calls like policy system environmental change work, where we try to work on the environment and making it so less people run into these issues. As the amount of funding has increased, we're really trying to look at, so the health officers have been meeting with the Arizona Attorney General's office. They've been coming to our health officers meetings, and it's been very clear from the attorneys that worked on the settlement dollars that the overarching thing they really want to see is that we prevent the loss of life from opioid and fentanyl type related deaths. So spoke with my staff and looked at the needs assessment that we have for opioids and really decided that I think the really best way to do this is during COVID, we did like a wraparound service where we just really like connected with these people that had opioid or that had COVID tested positive in the schools. And we were able to work with them to make sure that they stayed home, and a much smaller version of what we want to do now. What we're really looking at is Yavapai County, especially with like inmates that are being released. People from the state has a warm handoff line for people that are going through opioid problems. We're looking to bring in a consultant that could take these people that, will test each person, make sure that they're in the spot in their life where they're actually ready for change, and that we could go into these families and say, look, if this person is really ready for change and you need help covering for like the rent while you go to rehab, or you need some help with groceries, or you need some help paying for rehab or getting to rehab, or whatever we need to do, because these funds are all for preventing these deaths. So if there's people that are in those right frame of minds and they're ready to make a change, that we can use this funding and really try to make a difference and save some lives. So we'll be working with the consultants. The CDC has a whole list of things that you can do with wraparound services, so we kind of have a framework in place already. We can work with Yavapai County to kind of copy what they're doing, and hopefully this will give us a chance to like really come to the board each year and say, here are the lives that we've really affected with this funding. One of the big holdups that we had, we've been working with Mr. Minlove and Ms. Belling to look at the county's expenditure limit to make sure that we don't, the Attorney General's office decided that the opioid settlement dollars were part of our expenditure fund, unlike grants and other ways that I spend money in the health department. So worked with them, and we know that we're good to spend this amount of money through June of 2027. So we're looking to really kind of commit to as many people as we can to help them get through and do what we can to save some lives between now and then.
Okay, thank you, Joshua. Supervisor Humphrey.
Again, thanks for all you do, but I do have is there a local rehab or say if someone from our area has or is willing to make a life change and go into rehab, where do they have to go for that now?
Most of the rehab places that we've looked into in the past, and can't guarantee it's still true now because we don't really do a lot of the mental health on the public health side, but it is usually in Phoenix and beds are usually hard to come by. So sometimes it's even out of Arizona, so they can get pretty expensive, which is part of why um, we're looking at. Obviously, we'll see what kind of bids we get, but we have upwards of 1.2 to 1.4 million that could be spent over the next 30 months once this prod is in place. So I think the goal is really, as I said, to save lives so we can spend the money that
Could
we
spend
need to
that money
spend
for rehab even if they have to go out of state.
correct. Yep.
That's another thing that we could look at too, maybe try to how we can work to try to get rehab
Correct.
in the state of Arizona, because it's definitely needed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Klein.
So, Josh, going into this, you're gonna be working with a lot of people, a lot of different people. What I'm really gonna be interested in is maybe in a year's time or whatever it is, to see what the percentage of those people actually would go on and better themselves versus the ones that don't. You know, you're gonna have a ton of money to work with, so the opportunities are gonna be there to really work with these folks. But in my mind, I'm still curious as to how many people will actually take that opportunity and forward. So saying that, if maybe in 6 months or a year, you have a chance to present again on this, I'd really like to see some numbers on how that's going. But other than that, it's worth a try for sure. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Josh. And with that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the advertisement of request for proposal number 091424.
And I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Joshua. Item 3H, information, discussion, action to review the bids submitted for the invitation for bid number 080724, the Russell Gulch Channel Improvement Project, and award a contract to the lowest, most responsive, responsible, and qualified bidder. Good morning, Homero.
Good morning, Chairman Christensen, board members. This is actually a good news story all around. This project was born from the Telegraph Fire, and it is about flood mitigation. We suffered significant flooding all the way from Little Acres to Highway 60 from the Telegraph Fire. The section that we're going to talk about today, the scope of work, is the downstream end of Russell Gulch. And normally when you start on flood mitigation projects, you start at the downstream end and make sure you have the capacity. What this project will do is it'll triple the capacity in the gulch in that scope of work, from Bessage Boulevard next to the hospital all the way to the culvert crossing on Hospital Drive by Southwest Gas. And so first thing I should do is I'd like to thank a couple of folks for working on this project, because as I tell the story, and I'm going to be quick about telling the story, I think there's significant work that went to getting us to the point where we're at. So we worked with DIFM from the very beginning. DIFM actually awarded us $2,644,299 for this project, and we attempted to make a design that met that level. We worked with folks. At the time, it was a different director, but recently we worked with Thomas Torres, who is the director of DIFM, and then John Richardson and William Boyd. And we've been working with John and William since the Telegraph Fires. So they awarded us a little over $2.6 million. We designed it. We actually we went out for bids. We got 4 bids, very competitive bids, by the way. But inflation had outrun our ability to design the project, and we ended up with the lowest bid being $3,371,556 and 50 cents. So we were short from the DIFA money to undertake this project by something a little over $700,000. And we knew we would have to have a contingency on this project. So we were looking at a shortfall of about $1 million. And we went out to our community partners, we went out to the county manager, we went out to different folks, but we decided to go back to DIFM and ask them for additional money. And the story that we told them was that this is an important project for the community, that it provides all-weather accessibility to the hospital and it triples the flow of the channel, helping both the hospital itself, plus all the commercial and residential properties around the gulch, the Russell Gulch. And that we had already invested significant funds in this. We had a significant design. You don't design something for $2.6 million with just a little bit of money. The monies that, and actually they had helped us fund the design previously. And that we had gone out for bids and we were ready. We were ready to actually put the shovel in the ground on this project. Actually, we received the bids October 3rd of this year. We had worked out all issues with FEMA. There were some floodplain issues, but we worked them all out with FEMA, and we had secured all construction easements. And there was plenty of construction easements for us to get. And that we had looked at cost reduction. Actually, we looked at the design and asked ourselves, this is high, what can we do? And we looked at the vegetated concrete block flex mat that was proposed. And we had the engineers compare it to, what if we just do riprap? But the riprap would decrease the velocities and cause extra excavations. Actually, would cost more, and it wouldn't help with the flow. It would actually diminish the flow. So with that, we went back to DIFM, and actually DIFM, being the good partner that they've been with us since the telegraph fire, at least in our interaction with them since the telegraph fire, offered to pay the full cost of the bid. Okay, so they offered to cover that $727,257.50. And part of that credit to getting it from them has to do with our public works team, the Tom Goodmans, the Alex Kendrick, and also the emergency management folks that help us make the application, Justin Quarles and Carl Belford. So that's the team that make this happen. As you can imagine, on October 3rd, we received bids. We received a go-ahead from DIFM on November 14th. So part of what I talk about this being a good story is the speed in which we found a solution. So we're left with the contingency funding, $337,000 and $155,000. And we talked to the county manager, Mr. Manlove, and we agreed that because there is a low water crossing here on a road, Hospital Drive, and because this is a drainage project, that we would split the contingencies 50-50 between Public Works, Hereford Sales Tax, and General Fund. And that is what we're bringing to you today, okay? And so it is the recommendation of the Public Works Department that the Board of Supervisors award a contract to Action Direct LLC, doing business as Red Point Contracting, in the amount of $3,371,556 $556.50, with an owner's contingency in an amount of $337,155.65, for a total amount of $3,708,712.15. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions, Homero, other than thank you, because we've been dealing with the fire damage for a long time, and so I thank DIFM very much, but I thank the county staff and yourself for building a good working relationship with DIFM, so that they can help us with projects like that and work back and forth with them, because building a relationship is tough, and so thank you very much for continuing to work with a good relationship with DIFM. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
So absolutely, DIFM has been a major player since the fires and have offered and helped us in many different ways. And so being able to do this is really, really good and get a start on this. I had one question, and it's just curiosity is all it is. Homer, the money that DIFM is throwing out there, is that money from the original $100 million back when the telegraph fire started, or?
I don't know for a fact, but actually, another person that helped us, that actually motivated us to do this, Carrie, our finance manager, She had been talking to Diffham about another project on Walnut Canyon culvert, where they funded it, and we did it on budget, on time. They had gave us a little over 300,000, and she mentioned to Kerry that 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 they would listen to us asking for additional money on a project, and so with that, we were incented to make that pitch to them. But I can't answer that question, where the source of funding comes.
That's fine, Homer. I'm just curious. That money was a godsend to all of us at the time, and I'm just curious if that was still part of it, but no, here nor there. It's just a really good to partner with them and have them help us like that's awesome. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Homero. And it goes to show too that the input from our staff of the names you mentioned has saved us 700,000 some dollars with having a good relationship, a good working relationship. And so thank them. We want to thank the state, and we have a Representative Marshall with us here today. We may want to ask him that question. We want to keep this funding. It's been vital to Gila County. And so with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to award a contract to Action Direct LLC DBA Red Point Contracting in the amount of $3,371,556.50 with an owner contingency in the amount of $337,155.65 for a total amount of $3,708,712.15 in response to invitation for bids number 080724.
Mr. Chair, I will second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Homero. Motion passes. On to item 3I, information discussion action to approve amendment number 1 to contract number 020221-AAC with Agile Fleet Incorporated in the amount of $60,712.66 from October 31st, 2024 through March 25th, 2025, with an additional 1-year renewal for the Fleet Commander software program.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to introduce it. I'm going to pass it on to Dave LaForge to present the item.
Okay.
So Public Works is, at the present time, is always looking at the different softwares that we use, whether it's the one we use for roads or the ones we use for general services or whatever. And we do that with Agile Fleet, but at this point in time, we're basically happy with what we get from Agile Fleet. I'd like to point out a couple of things. One of the things that it does is it allows us to look at the gasoline consumption, the fuel consumption, I should say. And so we recently did a comparison, and it's ongoing. Every week I get a report, and it shows us what's the cost for us to purchase gasoline and to add our admin fee and to add the HERF tax, and then compare it to what would it cost in the Globe area to buy it here in the Globe area. And actually, we can gather all that information from a desktop very quickly, and they do that. And so far for this fiscal year, had we bought it had we bought it commercially, we would end up paying $16,000 more just here in Globe alone. I'm sure there's a similar amount in Payson. So this purchase of gasoline, how we manage the fuel pumps, et cetera, we're doing with that. I would say we're doing a fair to good job in managing the fuel and the dispensing of fuel. The Agile Fleet has always helped us with vehicle replacement plan. You've heard the various plans that we bring to you. It actually fuels the data for that. And we're getting ready next year to very quickly at the beginning of the year, come to you again. We didn't do one this year, but we're going to do one in the springtime ahead of the budget deadlines, so that we can share with you where we're at, where the fleet is at. We have looked at it. We've got a PowerPoint ready, but we've got other work sessions we'd like to bring to the board. So we're pushing that one out into February or March of next year. But without presenting it to the board, we utilize that information for purchase of vehicles, et cetera. I asked one of our admin clerks in the Payson area, when she interacts with Agile Fleet, can she tell me some of the things about Agile Fleet? So I'm just gonna read this and then I'm gonna turn it over to Dave. She says, easy to work with and user-friendly, able to run reports for the shops and vehicles, can use it for billing at end of month, easy to set up profiles for vehicles and users, service reminders set up, report detailed breakdowns, keeping track of vehicle usage. And basically, I had her put that down. She verbalized something like that to me, and she said, "Can you write that down for me?" Because I wanted to share with you that it's not just important for the software to give us data, but it's important that we be able to use it. And so, with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dave.
Good morning, David.
Morning, the chairman, members of the board. To say Fleet Commander has become a vital asset to General Services would be an understatement. It is a software that we use daily, and it's used by every member of my staff, from the technicians, the parts specialists, the admins, the supervisor, and myself. I mean, this is used daily by everyone. The technicians are using it to document all their repairs and all the maintenance that we do. And because they can access it so easily, they can research past repairs and maintenance. In the past, here at Gila County, we've had difficulty with that, where the system we had could only be accessed by 5 users. And trying to access stuff that was done in Globe and in Payson became quite a task. So this actually, the way that the software is set up, you can access it from anywhere. I've been called at home and asked to look something up, and I can pull out my iPad and there's the information. Our parts specialist uses it. That's how whenever we buy parts, we document it on the work orders. And when they get put on the work orders, that's how we're also able to bill out all of our parts that we use as well. We also attach all the invoices to all the parts we buy to the work order. So if we need to, we have a part failure, we need to go back, check warranties. All the information is documented in Fleet Commander. Our admins use it quite a bit. They open and close all the work orders. They can run reports, open work order reports, work order billing reports, billing export reports. These all help us with keeping everything in line and scheduled, and helps us at the end of the month when we're doing our billing. And the admins also get in there daily, and they document all the labor times that go into Fleet Commander as well. As Homero had mentioned, all of the information that we get for our vehicle replacement program, all the information comes out of Fleet Commander. So all the mileage, all the money spent, all the information that shows up on those reports, I mean, it comes right out of Fleet Commander. And this is also a huge tool for the supervisor. In one spot, he can look at every job that he's got going on. Some that are on the back burner, some that are in front of him, some that are coming up. He's able to look at it and say, okay, I can prioritize my day, my week, my month by looking at everything we have a work order open for, or that the maintenance reminder says is coming due. I as well use this quite a bit. It allows me that I don't have the day-to-day interaction with my mechanics. It helps keep me in touch of everything that's going on. I can see what jobs we were working on, and I don't even have to leave my office to do it. I mean, it's real helpful when you have a full plate that you can go to one place and have everything you need to know. As for the motor pool, it provides a seamless and easy access to all of our motor pool cars. Anyone in the county, as long as they're approved to rent vehicles and they have access to Fleet Commander, they can get on themselves, they can sign in, they can rent a vehicle without ever talking to anyone. And it also allows that person, when they're renting it, if they have issues because of the way the system is designed, they can actually just make a phone call, and we can, if they can't get logged in, they can't get into the key box, we can do it remotely. They make this program so easy to use that it's been working flawless for us since we included it. And it also extremely helps every month when we're doing our work order billing, we're doing our lease billing, and our motor pool rental billing. It runs the reports, it gives us the information, and all we gotta do is shuffle it around, put it on a PDF, and then send it off, so. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, David. Supervisor Humphrey.
How long have we been using this service?
Since 2018.
Since 2018. How did we live without it? I mean, from the
It was
presentation that we just
difficult.
got
It
with
seemed like a lot of
It's
time
like-
you were working in a fog,
Yeah,
just trying to
it
see
kinda-
things.
Kinda seems like it just kinda opened up a whole new world
Definitely did.
for what you're doing. Yeah, that's the only question I have. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
Yeah, David, it's been a good program for you guys, and there's no reason not to keep using it, so, thanks.
All right, thank you.
It actually sounds like it saves the county money to have this.
A lot of time, a lot of money,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
a lot of time and money, and it's more accurate and more accessible. So with that, I'll call for motion.
Is that mine? Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 1 to contract number 020221-AAC with Agile Fleet Incorporated as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
A motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you,
Thank you.
David. Item 3J is information discussion action to approve the use of state contract number CTR 061839 with Skyline Builders and Restoration Incorporated in the amount of $62,308.84 for the removal of 3 Joseph 3 75-foot pine trees. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Facilities and Land Management Department recommends the removal of the 375-foot pine trees at Central Heights Building to address significant safety and structural risks caused by their extensive root system. These roots have not only created hazardous, uneven pavers, increasing the risk of trips and falls, but they have also compromised the structural integrity of nearby building foundations and walls. If left unaddressed, the ongoing damage could result in costly repairs, heightened liability for the county. Contractor will remove the trees, stumps, and roots and replace the damaged pavers. This project will eliminate safety risks, prevent further structural damage, and restore the area to a safe, functional, and visually appealing condition. Again, the total cost of the project is $62,308.84. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions. I've seen them. That's a bad deal. And they're within the structure. And so, any limbs break or fall, then we're looking at damage to roofs or other buildings. So, yeah, they're not really good for where they're at.
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Klein.
Same with me, Joseph. They needed to be gone a while back, actually, but they're really causing a lot of damage now, so.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and I've seen them too. So yeah, they're a mess. This is the building we do not own, correct? Okay. All right. So with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the use of state contract number CTR 061839 with Skyline Builders and Restoration Incorporated as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
And we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
All right. Item 3K is information discussion action to approve economic development agreement number 10302024 between Gila County and the Payson Senior Center Incorporated. The amount is $3,584.10 to provide funding for the purchase of 2 PC towers, a laptop, and installation, which the board determined for the benefit of the public. This is my item. With us today, we do have Janice from the Senior Center. If you would come up, Janice, and just briefly, thank you for coming, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
This is my item, and you've requested for some computer equipment. Could you just
I did.
help us with that?
Chairman and supervisors, thank you. I don't get nervous, and I'm nervous. I'm sitting back there going like this. And was like, short and sweet. Number one, thank you for the opportunity to request funds for the extra things that we need to better our community. I had a whole thing I was going to do, but driving down here from Payson this morning, it made it clear that it just kind of came to me that we take driving for granted, and we don't think about those things. And I had a lady call the center the other day asking for a wheelchair for her husband. He has taken ill and he's progressing, and he takes her to all her doctor's appointments, etc. And she realized that wasn't going to happen anymore. So in talking to our staff, she said, you know, we have transportation. We have the Senior Express. It's door to door. We'll pick you up at your door, take you where you need to go to doctors anywhere in town, plus take you to the center to eat. So the computers, circling back around, that's what this is for. This is to upgrade our system to, we have some computers that we're using with our software to schedule these rides and Meals on Wheels and Congregate that are almost 15 years old. So we have a plan in place to get like 8 altogether, but this will get us definitely started and be able to not only help us continue to serve the community, but also grow the services and be able to do what we do.
Thank you, Janice. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions. I just thank you for working with the seniors and
Oh, thank you. I am
doing what
blessed.
you
I
can
love my
for
job.
them.
I love my job.
Good.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Janice, thank you. It's always good to help out where we can, so no problems.
Appreciate you coming down today, and so hopefully these will
That was all worth it. I had a
help you.
vision on the roads.
Yeah, it's a beautiful drive. So with that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Economic Development Agreement number 10302024 with the Payson Senior Center Incorporated as presented, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And if you just take a second, Mr. Menlove.
Go ahead and finish that, and then a comment after you finish the vote.
Oh, okay. I think I did finish the vote, and it was unanimous. We
Yes.
passed it. Thank
Great.
you. Mr. Menlove.
Mr. Chairman, if I could kind of jump to item number 7 of county manager comment, I want to express appreciation to the Payson Senior Center. We're doing the remodel of the courthouse up there. Payson Senior Center has been fabulous in working with us in
Thank you.
allowing us to actually get this remodel done. So thank you for the
You're very
Payson Senior
welcome.
Center
It's,
and working with Gila County
it's a
so well.
pleasure the way the whole timing and everything's working. This is going to be a great.
That's it, Mr. Chairman. I just
Thank
wanted
you. We can get a lot more done working together, can't we?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, Janice. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
So with that, we're going to move on to item number 4, which is our consent agenda items 4A through 4D. Supervisor Humphrey, would you like to remove one or more of those items for further discussion?
I would not.
Supervisor Klein, same question.
I'm good.
Okay, so then I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda items, action items 4A through D.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Item number 5, presentations. Presentation of Gila County General Fund financial data as it compares to the fiscal year 2025. Gila County budget in fiscal years 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, and 19, year-to-date performance. Good morning again.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Supervisor Klein, Supervisor Humphrey. Before I get into this, I know you have other things you need to get to today. Would you prefer to table this and the next item to our next meeting? I have no problem doing that. That way you can get on with things.
No, I don't want to do that, but if brevity is the word for the day.
I will keep it brief then.
Okay.
So for our September 2024 fiscal year 2025 year to date, we are on track for where we would expect to be 3 months in, given that our property taxes are primarily collected twice a year. And with that, I don't have any other important things to say about September.
That is brief. Thank you, Maren. Supervisor Humphrey.
I'm good.
Okay, Supervisor Klein.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah. Thank you. And so with that presentation, we don't vote on that.
No, it's just a presentation. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item 5A, presentation of the 6/30/2024 Gila County General Fund financial data as it compares to the fiscal year 24 Gila County budget in fiscal years 23, 22, 21, 20 year-to-date performance.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. This is here today so that we can include it in the 2025 budget book when we publish that, and also so that we can use it as an exhibit when we publish our financial statements. We got our financial statements yesterday afternoon, and we'll be sending them off to the Auditor General by Friday.
Very good, Maren. Supervisor Humphrey.
No questions? Thank you, Mayor.
Supervisor Klein.
Marin, we're still on track with everything then, we're good?
For June 30 of 2024, I hope so.
Okay.
Appreciate everything you do and your staff. That
We
means
do what
just
we can.
Numbers
Thank you.
everywhere. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for those
Thank you.
presentation. All right, we're now going to move on to item 5C. I'd like to, we're going to have an introduction of the District 7 Arizona State Representative David Marshall, who will be discussing Gila County issues with the Board of Supervisors in preparation for the upcoming legislative session. James.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have extended invitations to Representative David Marshall and Representative-elect Walt Blackman. Mr. Blackman, due to health reasons, was unable to join us today. He extends his apologies for not being able to make it, but we appreciate both of them willing to come. Wanted to offer congratulations to Representative David Marshall on his reelection to the Arizona State Legislature representing District 7. This is first that all of Gila County is represented by Representative Marshall, and we appreciate all that he's done for Gila County in the past. Also wanted to recognize several others that have come here to be involved in this discussion that we have with the County Supervisors Association Executive Director Craig Sullivan and our new legislative liaison Caitlin King that have joined us here today. They want to be here to hear what's important to Gila County as well. And then, of course, Policy Development Group, Todd Bowman and Andy Jacobs are with us today to be a part of our conversation. Mr. Chairman, if it's all right, would at this point invite Mr. Marshall, Representative Marshall, to the podium to give us a little background, if he could, on where we're at as a state and what they're looking for down at the state. And then this is an opportunity just to have an open dialogue of what's going on in the state and what issues we have here at Gila County. And just, again, an open dialogue that we can be able to work together. I believe it's been said that we do a lot better when we partner with one another. That's this opportunity. So, Mr. Chairman,
Thank you. Representative Marshall, front and center. Now, I understand that you're a preacher as well. Is that correct?
I'm at the pulpit. We're ready. Yes, I am.
Okay, so what do you got for us today?
Well, to be honest, I was invited down to come to lunch. Okay. I actually came down to hear what your priorities are.
Okay.
Because I'm hitting all the counties. You know that LD7 is the largest legislative district in Arizona, but not just Arizona. Also, it is the largest legislative district in the United States. So we have a very large district. Unfortunately, Walt Blackman couldn't be with us today because he's sick. So he sent me down here to listen to your priorities, see what your needs are for your community. I know I've talked with Supervisor Humphrey, and we're supposed to get together and go look at some property, right?
We can, you bet. I've got photos for you, but
Okay.
showing you some blighted properties in Gila County is not a problem.
Okay. And I know that
that's the problem. Is that it's not a problem showing you some.
And I know that we're still working on Pleasant Valley Retreat Center, seeing what we can do for that. And especially right now, I'm meeting with a lot of insurance companies because we're having a lot of homeowners that are losing their insurance because of the forest issues. So we have an ad hoc hearing coming up too, and we have a lot of insurance companies that are excited. They actually want to work with us to see what we can do to keep people in their homes because the people are foreclosing are walking away from their homes and they're foreclosing because they don't have insurance any longer. So there's a lot of things that are going on. I know the topic of what's happening in the state. Well, you've seen the elections. We finally had our red wave. It was 4 years late, but we had it. And the mandate that the people has given to President Trump, they have also given to us. We have that same mandate. And so there's still a lot of work to do. There's a lot of issues that are going on at the Capitol because of the new election we just had for our Speaker of the House, our Majority Leader, as well as our whip. And so there's a lot of discussions going on. They're announcing who the chairmen are of all the new committees. I've been elected as the chairman of Public Safety and Law Enforcement and Fire. So I'll be chairing that committee for the next 2 years. But they've also added other committees, which we're still scratching our head and wondering why, but they're there. But the goal this year is to be productive and successful the next 2 years before the 2026 elections. You ready for a sermon now?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And so I've been tasked with presenting a couple of things, and then I'll turn it over to the other supervisors as they have a few things probably as well. So congratulations on your reelection.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And I know that you and Representative Blackman are both friendly, very friendly to Gila County, and you have been and supported us in many ways. And so we're just asking for that same attitude toward us. But there's a couple of things that I think the legislature is going to need to work on. And as you're facing budget shortfalls and the discussion of where your budget's going to fall, we don't want, the counties don't want to have to pick up that deficit. So we want continued funding in a lot of the things, and maybe even increased funding in a couple of the things that concern us. So the probation officers that we have are actually state employees. And so the budget there is only just short of $11 million or so. But it seems like it's always up for grabs every year. It's not really annualized. It's not part of the regular budget. And so that if that doesn't continue, or there's a break, and there has been breaks in that funding, then we have to pick that up.
Well, just real quick to interrupt you, right now I've been meeting with probation.
Okay.
And since that is in my purview now,
okay,
we're going to look at that and see what we can do, because one of their other issues is retirement as well.
Yes.
They're under, their pay scale is under DPS, and it's under what Phoenix get. Although it is a smaller group, but they're still law enforcement. And so we're going to see what we can do about that too, increasing that and giving them better benefits this coming session.
Very good. And so you understand the issues that we're talking about.
I'm a retired cop, so I do.
Yeah, okay. So in those things, what's a small amount to me, it's actually 10.1 million, is a small amount for the state. It's a total deal breaker for us to have a share of that. So anyway, then the other is the Justice of the Peace salaries, and I think you're funding 40%. Is that what you said, Craig? And that needs to be increased. So when they get a pay raise, we're the ones that pay for it, and you're the guys that give them the pay raise. So it's sort of anyway. I'm not sure if I'm saying all this correctly. Craig tried to brief me this morning.
Want to bring Craig up here?
So we have unfunded mandates, or we have funding that needs to continue or increase.
Yeah.
I think you understand that. And the DIFM, you heard us talking about DIFM this morning. It's a vital thing to Gila County. Many of the other counties have never used it. They don't even know it's there. But to us, it's vital. And you can see they're giving us millions, and we need that because we can't fix a road. Just to fix a road costs so much money.
And right now, we're not certain where we are on the budget. We know that we cut 1.3 billion. This will pass the budget. And I've been told that everything is looking good right now, but that's just words. We haven't seen it on paper yet.
Yeah.
And also, if you remember too, during the budget, the governor cut a lot herself, you know, and there was really, no negotiations. And you might be not happy with me. I was not happy with the budget, so I was not voting for the budget. And the reason I wasn't voting for the budget is because we didn't have an opportunity to read the budget. We had a day and a half to read, it was, I think it was 18 budget ask, and we didn't have the time to read it. So I voted on the budget, but I voted on 3 or 4 affirmative, and the rest of them, I'm not voting on it until I get to read it.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, we asked the Speaker of the House, we had 2 weeks, 15 days before the state was shut down. We asked for 5 days to read the budget, to debate the budget, and write amendments that we need. Well, we were told absolutely not. We are voting today and that's it. And if you don't vote, you're going to lose money. And I lost money. Pinal County lost $5 million because I refused to vote on part of the budget that I didn't read, that we didn't have an opportunity to read. Navajo County lost $1.2 million for daycare centers because I refused. And they said, if you vote yes on everything, we'll give you your money back. Well, I don't roll like that, so I said no. And so hopefully this year, we'll get everything done. We'll get all the budget asked done ahead of time instead of the 11th hour. And then we'll see what we can do about getting all the appropriations that's needed for Gila County and the other counties that we represent.
A lot of times, it's just the uncertainty of not knowing what's coming, if it's going to continue or be cut, and those uncertainties really affect us a lot. So.
Well, under the new speaker, Speaker-elect Steve Montenegro, we've been told that day one, January 13th, when we are sworn in, that the budget negotiations are going to start day one. And because this past year, I don't know if you notice, or I know some of my guys back here, we didn't really start dealing with the budget until around May. And that's nonsense. Not enough time to negotiate, not enough time to do amendments or anything. So he says January 13th, as we're sworn in, we'll start negotiating on the budget that day and hopefully try to have the budget done by May, because the governor wants to wait for that first quarter to get a report back to see where we are financially.
Perfect. So, Mr. Sullivan, is there anything you'd like to add to these topics that we brought up? Please come up. Because I just don't believe I've expressed it quite well, but.
Well, first, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thanks for the opportunity to be here with you. And I want to thank the representative for his partnership with the counties. Thank you very much. We've enjoyed working with you. You know, as we talked about when we got all the counties together on these topics, what's interesting about things like probation and the justice of the peace salary issues, these are not the counties asking for money for the county. It's asking the state to fund its obligations so they're not shifted to the counties. And that's really what it's about. These ought to be baseline items, quite frankly, for the state. And so that's what we're hoping to do. These are not items that you created either. These are items that you inherited. And so we appreciate your willingness to listen to them and to try to work with us to get this stabilized going forward.
And that is the plan, to work together to get this done.
And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So thank you. So I'll turn it over to Supervisor Humphrey.
As far as the topics, I have no questions. And Marshall, thank you very much, Representative Marshall, for being here today, for taking time to show the interest to the county that you are very concerned with issues that we have. And so I'm not going to get into much because I was told there was an agenda for us to have an agenda, and then there was an agenda for after our agenda meeting. And so I'm kind of unprepared right now because I was told that my agenda would be after our agenda meeting, and so perhaps over the lunch or something. But anyway, doesn't matter. But I will be happy to do it.
Well, Supervisor, I'm with you. I didn't know I was speaking before the lunch.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm unprepared at this point in time. I'll be happy to get with you after our agenda meeting.
We'll have a priorities meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
After hours are always a better meeting.
Is it? A little early for that, Supervisor.
Representative Marshall, thank you for being here. I do have some think you're fully aware of them because you mentioned one of them already, and that was the dealing with the insurance
Yes, sir.
folks. So I can't tell you the number, but throughout the northern half of Gila County, let's just say, a number of people have been dropped because of fire. But it even expands way further than that. Earlier, me and Craig Sullivan were in Washington State in Colville at a WIR meeting. And that was the topic of discussion all the way up there. So basically, in all 11 western states, this has become an issue. And it's not because people aren't paying their premiums or whatever it is. It's just that they either get a notice in the mail or a knock on the door and they no longer have insurance. And what's really hard, it seems to be, from what I'm gathering, there's not a lot of people out there to take the place of those that quit providing that insurance.
Yes.
And from what I see, it is going to take the legislature, you all down there, to try and pull that back together. Because as you mentioned, there's a lot of people that have mortgages. I mean, that's normal fact of life. So many of those mortgages are based on having insurance. And when you get dropped just because you might be in the wrong spot or whatever it is, or elevation, mortgage companies don't take that into consideration. You have to have it. And when you can't get it, what do? And that's the conversations that I'm having with a lot of different people, that they're coming to me saying, what's the deal? And there's nothing that I see as a county other than to support you all in some kind of, I don't know, a bill or something that would mandate them to provide insurance, basically.
Well, Supervisor, we do have a bill.
Good.
We are working on a bill right now. And however, though, we had some little battles with the real estate industry and all that. However, we are able to come to an agreement with the real estate agency now, statewide, that they're going to support this bill. So now we're meeting with the other insurance companies, not just your insurance agents. We're meeting with the heads, and that's what the ad hoc hearing is for, because we're going to give the voices to the people to vent and share. You were also mentioning about the mortgages. You know, when the mortgages, once you lose your house, you know, what do? Well, what's happening with some of these folks, the mortgage company is putting insurance on them, but it's either triple or even more than triple what they were normally paying. That's through the mortgage company. So they're being robbed by the mortgage. That's why they're walking away from it. If you're only paying $1,200 a year at one time, now you're paying $5,000 a year or $7,000. It's ridiculous. So we do have a bill that will be introduced day one at the legislature and stuff. And Lord willing, it'll pass through. And what basically that bill, I don't want to divulge a lot yet because there's a lot of changing going on, a lot of wheeling and dealing with insurance companies, the real estate company and all that, real estate companies. So, but basically what it is going to say is that you will, in the state of Arizona, supply insurance for all homeowners, not just homeowners in the urban areas, but also out in the forest throughout the state. And it's a mandate that they're going to have to support. And so far, like I said, the real estate agencies and real estate lobbyists are all on board of it with it right now.
That'll be good if we can work with that way and get something done, because it's just continuing to get worse.
Yes.
Right now. So I really appreciate knowing that. And also, if you all need support or whatever from me, or if we need to go through the county and get on an agenda where we can all vote on it, I'm sure hopefully we could do something. But
well, if we can work the deal before the ad hoc hearing, I won't have to call witnesses.
Okay.
But if we have to go through the ad hoc hearing, I'll definitely will be calling you to come down and testify.
Absolutely.
Because we also have people lined up, families lined up to testify as
good.
well.
That would be great. Another item I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm really glad you're here today. It saves me the phone call of you going down the road trying to talk to me, hearing about all this. But
yeah, you made me drive all the way down here.
So last year, well, for about 7 years now, the county has had a youth program every year. And we work with the other municipalities in the county, Town of Globe, Town of Payson, Winkleman, Hayden. And what we do is we go out there and we hire these kids out of school for the summer. It's a 6-week deal. And we place them in these different municipalities. And then they pay for them up front, invoice us, we reimburse them. It's been a really outstanding program. Been really good. A year ago, I was able to sit at a roundtable meeting in Superior with the governor, and got around to my presentation. Anyway, I brought up the fact of this program we have in Gila County. Now, you got to take in consideration the state has a WIOA program that works with youth as well. My opinion, and it's just my opinion, is that in a lot of ways they tie their hands behind their back on that program. It's not, a lot of it doesn't make sense, just throwing it out there. But we have our own here, and that's what we've been doing. I briefed her on our program, on and on and on, and her staff was sitting there, and later we were able to speak with their staff on it. They called back, and what it ended up being is they had passed along about $300,000 of leftover money that basically WIOA or whoever couldn't spend, and they gave it to us to put in our youth program, which was a big benefit to this county. But it also did something else that we had kind of been not looking at real close and not asking questions. But we border Pinal County and Winkleman and Hayden down there. Well, across the road is Kearney and Dudleyville and whoever else. Post office is on this side over here. Kids go to school here at this school or whatever. And so, but what this extra money from the state did for us, it allowed us to cross those county lines. With working with the district supervisor, who is Jeff Surdy, Supervisor Surdy, and me and him, we work quite a bit together across boundaries. But we were able to put together a really good program, and it's thanks to Kathy and our HR department and several others. But what we've done is we've kind of maxed it out. We've had about 70 plus kids in this program last summer. There's only so much we can do as far as working with municipalities or the county government as a whole. There's only so many places you can put these kids to work. I, for one, want to take a look at this and try to reach out in some different aspects, like to APS, SRP, the hospitals, and start working with some of these. Now, there's a gifting clause that we have to deal with in the county. You know, that's why we use municipalities. And Joe, you can jump in here if you want. But what I'd like to do is try and expand this and see if there's a way we can work with some of these other areas on some of these kids. We've had kids that are interested in becoming doctors, lawyers, mechanics, all this. And if we can broaden that and be able to help these kids get a foothold in what they want to do, we all win. You know, in my opinion, we're kind of way behind the power curve on a lot of people that's my age or a little younger. You know, some of them we're going to be able to help, and a lot of them we're not going to. But if we can tie into these kids that are coming up and just getting ready to jump into life in whatever direction that they want to go, and we can give them that boost, we're going to win on that one. That's where we're going to get ahead of everything. But I'm probably going to need to work with you guys somehow, some way, because the gifting clause is statute. And I don't know if there's a way of working with that for special programs or something that we can look into a little harder. Because I honestly believe the way your WIOA program goes in the state, I would have a hunch there's going to be leftover money about every year. And there's no reason for it to be turned back or not used. So.
Well, I can tell you there's other agencies too that I won't bring the agency up right now, but it had over 400 million left over this year. So there's a lot of agencies that we can contact, and but we do have to go through the governor's office to get that approval. And you know Chad.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a good working relationship up there, and we can get a lot of things done that way too. But and so basically, what I'm saying, the point is that there's other agencies that we can go outside of WIOA and
Yeah.
Reap the benefits.
We just can't do enough for our youth. We really can't. And so if there's some way we can work together or see what's out there or a direction we could go, it would be awesome to do that. And it'd really be nice to, I don't know, maybe change some things in the WIOA program or whatever to lighten it up a little bit.
And we can look at that as well.
And I can give you just one example. They focus on out-of-school youth. So the kids that are going to school in some instances can't apply because they're in school. Well, just because you're in school doesn't mean you don't need some money.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids that we deal with every year, a high percentage, Kathy could tell you more, but a high percentage of these kids, they're not working for themselves to be able to go buy whatever it is they want to buy. A lot of them will be up front and in your face and tell you, I'm working to help support my parents and get by. And so we're almost, I don't know, discriminating against the kids in school, that are making the effort to go to school and everything by focusing just on the out-of-school youth. So there needs to be some changes in there or whatever. But from our county standpoint, what we're doing is working, and we've proven that. And I have no intentions of letting that go for the next 4 years. So hopefully we can go up, but I want to improve it. I want to build it bigger.
And what you're saying too, the additional funding will expand the program as well.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. Well, if you and the chairman want to meet me at Mike's Fish and Chips in Payson,
Gotcha.
we can wheel and deal.
After you address the open meeting laws, because.
That's right.
So one more thing, and I want to go back to DIFM. DIFM has been a huge help to Gila County in more ways than just the fire stuff. I mean, what they did with us on the fires is just awesome. But DIFM has also become a part of the contracting and management on our national forest with the Good Neighbor Authority. They've been able to partner with the Forest Service on a lot of our projects, especially in the Payson area. Timber sales, thinning, things of that nature. And I only see that becoming more and more. The Forest Service in the past years is, they've lost some staff and they've kind of got cut back quite a bit. But it seems like DIFM is really stepping in there and helping hold that together and help with a lot of those other projects. So I would just ask you or urge you, whatever, if you can do to support that DIFM department, that particular department, we really need to.
Okay.
We need to keep them going.
And we do have a forest problem. We really do. I ran a bill, started to run a bill last year on Clean Forest Initiative, and it got held up for whatever reason. But we were trying to bring in other agencies, other companies to come into Arizona to help thin out our forests. Right now we have one company, and one company will be here 100 years trying to thin out our forests. So I was trying to bring in 2 additional companies so that they can work from the north, the east, and the west. And, it might take 20 years. But the Apache Reservation, the White River Apache Reservation, they have cleaned their forests out. They've done an amazing job. You can drive big rigs through the forest.
Yes.
And it looks good. I don't like it personally because it messes with my hunting, but that's selfish. But what the point I'm trying to get to is that if we can also get the funds, appropriate the funds to get more agencies in here to clean out our forests as well, that's going to help us too. It'll help DIFM. It'll help our constituents that they don't have to worry about these fire issues any longer. And so that's one of the programs that we're working on as well, trying to get more help out in our forests, but it's going to take the funding. The last company that wanted to come out, they wanted no state money. All they wanted was tax credits to buy additional equipment. And we would have 2 or 3 paper mills going at one time. So that's my goal.
And that's a good goal. The one thing, I'm envious of the reservations. They're able to do a lot more than we can on this side.
Yes.
And the reason being is the hoops that we have to go through compared to theirs is way more extensive. And I say that because, as Craig heard, when we were in Colville, Washington, you know, there's a lot of different issues when it comes to managing natural resources. And the one thing that is a constant denominator in all this is your T&E species and NEPA. And that's a federal thing. I get it. And I'm really hoping that in the next few years, maybe that can be revamped. I'm not saying take it away. I'm just saying take and revamp it so it isn't so, it can be litigated so bad as it is. Because that's really what the deal is. So the reservations have an easier way with that. There's no reason why we're not doing the same, but we're not. And so that's going to be an issue. I have one more thing I really wanted to talk to you about. Here, the last meeting or so, we talked about the abandoned RVs and stuff around Payson. You know, that's just becoming homeless camps. And whether it's somebody that goes out in the woods and drops it off and leaves, or somebody goes out there and lives in it a while and leaves, whatever it is, they get left there. And then it's just one group or one individual after another just moves in it when they move on. So we actually entered into an agreement to help start cleaning that up. A lot of it is a forest issue, but we're to help with the forest too. I mean, 97% of us is public lands. And so I don't know if there's something through the state or a program or want to do a project of trying to throw in some funds. We threw in 25,000, I believe, on this to help start picking these RVs and whatnot up and getting rid of them. But that's just going to be a drop in the bucket, honestly. But that's something that's out there that is always a conversation with people, especially in that Payson area. A lot of folks travel that Houston Mesa Road, going to Whispering Pines and north of Payson and out. Well, that's where these are sitting, you know, and for whatever reason, through the complaints, through whatever is said, the Forest Service hasn't been able to pick those up and do away with them.
You know, are we talking right now, what you're talking about right now, is that state land or public?
It's public lands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have, Pinal County's having the same issue, but a lot of it's on state land. So what we've done, we've had DPS come in, cite them, 72 hours later, if it's still there, they're towed out.
So they're writing citation.
Yes.
So I won't get into this meeting real hard, but that was the one thing that was elected not to do, was the citation part. And I think that could lead to more issues.
Well, the citation part gives them the authority after 72 hours to impound.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you want to move them. If you want to get them moved faster than, 30 days or 6 months out, it's a citation because they're abandoned and then they're taken out.
Well, something comes across your desk where maybe you're bored and looking for a new project or something.
I'm bored, all right.
Keep it in mind.
Okay, I will.
But,
no, I didn't know that you were having the issues up there in Payson, though.
Oh, yeah.
Pinal County has it real bad, and that's all I've been hearing. This is the first I'm hearing.
Yeah.
About Payson.
Yeah, we have bad problems in Payson.
Okay.
And so
we'll get together on that then.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I think I'll take a breath for a minute and breather.
Thank you. The only other thing, and James, help me with what we're doing on this extra agenda. What is that? Is that an official listed from 12 to 1? Are we just in a casual thing? What are we doing?
Mr. Chairman, we can go ahead and complete the rest of the agenda, which is called to the public, and then final comments by the board, county manager, conclude the meeting. We'll take like a 10, 15-minute break. We're going to set up tables here, have lunch, and just have a casual conversation over lunch.
Okay, that sounds great.
So lunch is, as promised, about to be.
Yeah. The reason you're here.
Can I say one more thing, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
So I asked Sarah earlier about that Trinity Services that provide the meals for our folks. They are out of Florida. I was hoping somebody was closer to Arizona that was doing this, but, so it's just a sign of what we deal with, I guess. Nobody in Arizona wants to do it, or, I don't know, but, anyway.
I just have one more thing to mention that I think is pretty important to us, and that's our HERF funding. Okay, so we're operating on the same dollars that we were 20, 25 years ago, but we've had a lot of inflation since then. So we're actually operating 25, 30% below what we were receiving then. That's pretty impactful. And then we have this rise of the electric vehicle, and you guys need to come up with something for an electric equivalent or gasoline equivalent fee of some sort so that we're not swirling in more and more. So we try and pay our employees an increase every year. We try and keep our equipment going. We have 700 some miles we maintain in Gila County. So the tax base is really not here. So HERF is vital to us. And so if there's a way that you could look at that, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. Is there anything else before we go to the next item?
No, I want to thank you for
Yeah.
having me here, give me a platform that I wasn't expecting. And
Yeah, thank you.
Todd.
We'll kick it off, Senator. Yeah, no, thank you.
No, I'm glad to be here.
And
I'm
we'll
glad
talk
to help
more.
as
We're going to have more of a casual setting here in a few minutes. So
Yeah, and then I can get more data from you printed out so I don't forget everything that we just spoke about.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming too. We'll see you in a minute.
And I do want to say that Todd and Andy are here with us. They have been introduced, and so thank you for coming because they are vital to what we do as well. And thank you, Craig and Caitlin, for coming as well. And I'm sure you're all going to be here for lunch. So the next thing is item 6, call to the public. Is there anyone here in Globe? No. Cassandra, how many do we have today? 25. And Lisa, doesn't look like you're too busy over there. So, okay, so we'll close call to the public and open up number 7, which is our a summary of current events. Supervisor Menlove.
Mr. Chairman, let's just move on to lunch. So that's enough for me. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last year we had the ECO meeting and the CSA meeting. So thank you, Craig and Caitlin, for all that. That was really great. And then, of course, we attended the Discover Gila County relaunch. I was here in Globe for that one. Looked like a really good turnout for that. Have they done the one in Payson?
They did it in Payson. I was going to mention it, and it was outstanding.
Good.
Yeah.
Good deal. Yesterday we spent the day with the ASIP, Arizona County Insurance Pool, and we went through the Veterans Retreat from one end to the other and talked about every different aspect of all that. I thought it went really well. I thought that was a good deal. Today, after this meeting, I'll be going on down to Tucson, where in the morning I'll be presenting an award from the Arizona New Mexico County Coalition of Counties to the Farm Bureau agency for their work in natural resources and all that. So it's going to be at their annual meeting, so that ought to be fun. That's it.
Yeah, thank you for all you're doing. The relaunch, so Gila County, discovergilacounty.com is probably the best website and marketing system I believe any government has ever come up with. They keep winning best of awards over and over again. And so it's about 5 years old now. So they said we just need to upgrade, continue to improve. And so that's why they called it a relaunch. And we had a great time in Payson, very well attended, and really did well. I'll be meeting with some more trails people. Angie from the Forest Service and Deb Jones and a few others have approached me. These trails actually involve both of our districts, District 1 and 3 along the Highline Trail. And so they want to talk about how the Board of Supervisors can assist them if in any way. And so that's coming up. Just recently in the last week or so, I've been on KRIM and also KMOG radio stations. And then there was a recent Backbone Fire workshop that was conducted, and I was not able to attend. So I know Kathy was there though, and also Melissa was able to attend, and so that was good for that. And that's about all I've been up to. And so if there's, see, I'm out of pages, so if there's nothing else, I'm going to adjourn this meeting and we will conduct the social time.
Yeah, we'll regather in about 10 minutes. Gonna.